ready for phase 1?
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Excessive, Team Stealth Rocks, the best move in the game, coming at you with a random mid-season video. Obviously, stopped recording YouTube videos. Wasn't getting a ton of enjoyment out of it. At least not as parts of the Pokemon game I enjoy. I'll play around with the idea of coming back to videos. I don't know if I'll do team builders and battle videos, but maybe recaps, season analysis, stuff like that might be more fun to do than record videos every single week on top of my work schedule, which is continuously getting bigger and busier and busier. Playing more hockey, being a lot more physically active, so just have a little bit less time. So anyways, I've been busy, kind of just decided to shelf the YouTube thing. But anyways, we're back. Hot topic. Doing air quotes right now. Hacks, bad rolls, mischances, and there's a folder right here. Cool, that was really a good production value. For the background, we're just going to have some random videos of mine, probably playing random matches of mine playing. I'll probably just click on them to have something filtered through the background as I'm playing. It's not really the subject matter. I haven't picked particular games out or anything along those lines. So, yeah. Where do we want to start? So, yeah, hacks this season. Been a hot topic. A lot of people complaining about getting hacks. Really was inspired by Ivan's post in the Shave Stuff channel. I think that was a really well thought out post showing a lot of the data and the numbers. Really well done by Ivan. So I'm not going to speak about the statistics or chances to get hits. I haven't done the research on that, but more about kind of game theory of, Pokemon and games with random chance or RNG elements in them in general. Kind of simple ways that Ivan's more kind of relatively covered and probably would be a better person to speak about this. Ways to increase hacks chance. And I think the most important thing, the last thing I want to talk about is mindset. Mindset of how I'm not going to tell people like, oh, this is how you should go about it, but this, I think, helping people realize healthy habits about how to deal with hacks or maybe approach hacks. So that was kind of the plan here. Let's get started. Again, random video. Not gonna, do something too crazy. I don't think I'm gonna do a ton of editing, so some of these shots and vids might be kind of bad, but we'll wing it and go from there. So no sweet transitions. I don't have time for that right now this time of year. So yeah, stuff like that. Let's talk about Pokemon as a game in general. Pokemon is a game with a lot of RNG. People complain about that a lot. I've seen YouTubers I used to watch, like Gator, who was a YouTube battle I used to watch, always would complain about this. And I'm not saying necessarily there's anything wrong about this complaint. Pokemon's a game with a lot of RNG. We have moves. Sorry, Kitty. You okay? Yep, not going to edit that out either. Kitty's okay, just as anyone's wondering. He was just a little bit too close to the chair. Anyways, Pokemon's a game with heavy RNG elements to it. High rolls, low rolls, crits, misses, you name it, we got it in this game. Percent chance for secondary effects. So yeah, is that a bad thing with Pokemon? I necessarily don't think so. I've read a lot of, theories about game theory, have played with the ideas of, pipe dream ideas of making my own game, which I'm never going to do, but I've had conversations with programmers and people that I like to talk about this stuff and done some reading, so I won't bore you too much with the detail, but to simplify it, I think every good game has a certain amount of RNG in it, or maybe not say good's not the best word, but any competitive game should have a certain. It just depends on what you're trying to get out of the game. Should have elements of RNG in it. If we let's talk about Pokemon versus a game like chess. If you want to talk about a game that is really random, Pokemon versus a game like chess, zero randomness, and think about these two games compared to each other. Pokemon, a game with all these hacks rolls and low rolls, high rolls, gives you some variance in what the outcomes in these games will be. The best player of the Pokemon is not going to win every single game just to do how RNG works. You're going to lose some games that maybe on paper you should win. Now compare that to chess. There's a reason like an elo system in chess works so well is that because if you're truly the better player in chess, you should win every time. There's not like my knight accidentally moved differently this turn. Like that doesn't happen in chess. So the best player should win almost every single time. I don't know. Again, haven't looked at numbers, but a vast majority of the game should win. A better example of this maybe would be comparing a board game to a game that has variance, where better players still do well. If you want to think about Pokemon, think about games like poker. I'm a casual poker player. I've played a significant amount of Texas Hold'em variants in my life, and I've won money. But again, I'm very casual. By no means I don't gamble online. I don't play online. I don't grind. But I play with friends. I play with family. Things along those kinds of games. But that by no means, just because I know how to play poker, does that make me a professional or good at the game. If I played 100 hands versus a poker professional, someone who's on the World Series of Poker Tour, could I win a few of those hands? Yeah, I could. I could get lucky. RNG could go against the guy. I could just be dealt a better hand, pocket aces. I could get lucky on the turn. That guy makes the correct mathematical decision and calls a bluff I make, and I get bailed out by a card on the river or turn, a card that shows up later in the hands, and I could win. But of those vast majority of 100 hands, 1,000 hands, 1,000,000 hands you play against that professional, the better player will statistically win the vast majority of those hands, even with this slight variance in RNG. That's why there's professional poker players. That's why there's professional, people who are professional at games with random elements. So yeah, it's just interesting when people talk about, okay, we're probably not gonna be. Let's see here. Where did I put that tab? All right, live editing, boys. Edit on the fly. Okay, we moved that over there. Fix this. Let's see if we can get this to work with minor. No, it's not going to work. So we just plop that in here. Oh, it's perfect. Let's keep going. But yeah, game theory. Any good game, a competitive game like this that has RNG in it, will lead to the people of varying skill levels winning, which I think is important for a healthy league. If every time the best players won, Ivan would win every single game if that was the case. Obviously joking. Ivan's great, but I was trying to make a badly timed joke. But anyways, my point is the best player would win every single game if there was 0 RNG in Pokemon, or 9 out of 10 games, and that would get boring relatively quickly. You want there to be variance. You want there to be chance. You want there to be a little bit of upset. And my personal feelings on it will be covered later. But brief talk about game design. Let's move on to kind of. So I guess to summarize that, game theory, Pokemon, chess, poker. These games all have variance amounts with Pokemon and poker Pokemon probably be the furthest, poker in the middle, chess at the opposite end of the spectrums, different degrees of variance in it. So if you want to truly play a game where if you're better at it than your opponent, you will win every time, maybe we should start a Discord for our new chess league, and we can all start playing chess, and no one could ever complain about losing to hacks or getting robbed or anything like that. Let's move on. Let's talk about just briefly. This is probably the smallest subject matter for this one. Just simple ways or simple strategies maybe to increase or decrease your chance of getting hacked. And these aren't mind-blowing. This is going to be like, yeah, duh, excessive. This is big paralyze right there. I can't remember if that was scarfed or not. That might have been scarfed. Anyways. But anyways, it's just a simple it's a simple concept to think about, but maybe if people just think about this when making decisions, they put themselves in a less percentage chance to get hacks, and it gives the perception that maybe some people get hacks more or less than others. But like Ivan said, statistically, Pokemon's a game of numbers. Literally, we can play on stuff like emulators just because it's a game of numbers, math. So statistically, no one gets hacked less or more than anyone else. And we'll talk about that more in mindset when I want to nitpick with that part. But anyways, stupid simple things. But like, if you feel like you get hacks more than others, maybe the first thing you should look at is a play style thing, a decision-making tree. It's simple things like using moves with higher accuracy will lead to less hacks. It's mathematically just true. You can't argue that if you run Flamethrower more often than Fire Blast, you're going to have hit more often. I can't remember Flamethrower is 90 or 100% accurate, but it's definitely more accurate than Fire Blast. There's a trade-off: higher power, better accuracy. So these are decisions you have to make. Maybe if you miss a ton and you're always like, oh, would have won if that one move would have hit. Maybe you should just run a move with a higher accuracy. If the game is that, if the margin for error is that razor thin, and that one hit would make a difference, maybe you should evaluate the increased accuracy versus the increase in power. But simple stuff. Maybe look at your play style. Are you a person who wish passes, recover stalls, whatever, plays more soft boils, roost stalls? Like, if that's your play style or one of your go-to moves or how your team's designed, you're going to get hacks more. You're clicking passive moves more often, and therefore you're receiving attacks more often. So therefore you're not attacking the opponent, so you're decreasing your chance of getting lucky or hacking your opponent, and you're just a punching bag. Eventually, a crit, a freeze, a burn is going to happen if you're just sitting there tanking moves. It's just mathematically your chances are going up every time you're rolling the dice and over and over again, and eventually you're going to come up snake eyes. So maybe evaluating playstyle thing. Like, if you're a player who's getting upset that their stall Pokemon is eventually getting crit or paralyzed or burned after 15 turns of clicking roost, like, I don't feel that's you're mathematically putting yourself in that position, and I don't have much remorse for that kind of things happening. Again, sometimes these crits happen, at an unfortunate time. Maybe it's the first time you click roost it happens, but if you proceed to click roost 30 more times that game, like, statistically, it's math. It happens eventually. It just depends on when it happens. With all that being said, obviously, I'm not naive to not think that hacks don't play a role and affect the outcomes of the game. I've been on the receiving end, and I've been lucky before. That's totally a thing. I'm not saying that hacks can affect outcomes of the game. I'm not saying that, oh, you should just toughen up and win anyways. Like, no, I get it. I've won games because I've gotten lucky. I've lost games because I've gotten unlucky. That's totally a part of Pokemon, and it goes back into my game theory design that maybe, is that truly a bad thing? Like, being emotional after a loss is one thing, but whining after the fact 3 days later that, oh my god, I'm so unlucky, oh my god, this hacks is killing me, like, I don't think that's a healthy habit. Which kind of leads me into my, let's pull up another game for you guys to watch here as we're talking. Maybe I'll randomly cut out right before my next game, which is versus Lando, and I lose. Maybe the street, I'll have to stop talking right before that. Jokes. Again, jokes. I just clicked play on, what did I do? Oh, this is bad. Oh no. Crap. What have I done? We might cut right here, and I'll come back right here. Hold on one second, guys. Alright, guys, we're back. Not really sure what I did there. Kind of messed up a setting. Looks like the video was fine anyway, so I didn't have to stop. So yeah, to wrap this video up, I'm going to talk about maybe the one that's more important to me, and something that me and Marv started having conversations about, and I think we're going to have just look behind the curtain here. Me and Marv are kind of gearing up to really make sure Marv's in a really, really dangerous mindset, really, really, in a really good place coming into his next season. So we're think about just Marv natural talent mixed with excessive mindset is my idea here, and we'll make the ultimate Pokemon player hopefully here for next season, and we'll all lose to Marv. So, but me and Marv have been talking about this a lot lately, and we'll call this last section kind of like mindset, or dealing with hacks, or maybe how I approach the game. And again, take this with a grain of salt. Everyone has a different way that they want to approach the game. Everyone has a different competitive level with Pokemon. If you're an emotional player, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just going to kind of talk about how I feel about mindset and RNG and getting robbed, and all the conversations sometimes I see in all chat and people. Again, with the caveat, I'm not picking on anyone specifically or saying anyone whines or anything like that. That's not the point of this video. I just thought it was an interesting discussion point, and maybe people would enjoy hearing, getting some discussion about it. And again, hacks can affect games. People can lose to them, and I 100% understand that reality. So, mindset. Talking about games with RNG elements, the first thing you need to think about is it's not about, the single, individual. It's about the sum of all parts that forms your season, forms your career, forms whatever you want to look at it. one game is not going to define your how unlucky or lucky you are. Like statistically, it just uh, that's not how math works. So a lot of people complain, "Oh, I'm so unlucky. Oh, I got hacked so much. Oh, this and that happened. Oh, Marv at one point in one of our channels said something to the effect of, "Oh, this is the season of hacks. It shall be ill. Will live in infamy." And I was kind of like, "Really? Like, is it the season of hacks?" And I'm glad Ivan kind of proved statistically it hasn't been that bad. Um, that like, oh, it's infamy. It's so bad. The reason all these players are losing is hacks. And then you look at people like Ivan, me, and Shy Crow, and Adam, and Lando, like people are still winning games and finding ways to win. So obviously there's it's not that bad. There's not some sort of, you know, everyone's losing games exclusively because of this. So it's not the sum of one game, but it's all your games put together. How many times have you been hacked? So you always have to keep that in mind when something bad happens to you. That either it's always going to happen, and the wheel is going to come around eventually, and your opponent will lose a game because of hacks. You'll win a game because of hacks. That's just statistically how it works. It's the sum of everything. And then kind of talked about that. Oh, I'm so unlucky. Oh, I'm gonna lose. I'm so unlucky. It's bad. I get hacks. That's so bad. How I would win if it wasn't for that. It's a horribly toxic mindset in my opinion, and it's a terrible way to think about Pokemon if you want to approach the game from a competitive or semi-competitive side like I like to. Um, that's 100% not true. You're not more unlucky or less unlucky or than anyone. Statistically, you're eventually, after you play 50 games in NBPL, where we're tracking, we have all these records and archives and kill totals and things along those lines, and we keep our Discord. Like, if you looked at your entire career season, your stat line with slight variance based on move selection, play style, would be pretty equal. Your amount of you've been hacked, your times you've been gotten crits, got burns, got freezes will probably be very, very similar to your opponents. With that caveat being said, some hacks are more important than others, but it's not true. You're not unlucky than other people. So, on top of that, when people not whine, it's a negative word. When people approach their thoughts about hacks, I see a lot of people just commenting about, I lost the game because of hacks. If that hacks didn't happen, I would have won, or he would have lost. And because this didn't happen, I didn't get a defense drop, or I didn't get the stun spore didn't hit, or I got paraflinched. Like, I would have won the game. It's like energy. You're worrying about something that's outside of your control in the game. You're spending time thinking, complaining, obsessing over things that are outside of your control. You can adjust the likelihood of it happening. You can decrease the likelihood of it happening. You can use higher crit moves to make you have a better percent chance to crit. These all have trade-offs that I don't think are really relevant to the conversation, but you can't control if you get the freeze or don't get the freeze. You can't control if you get burned or don't get burned. You can't control if you get crit or don't get control. It's a game. It's the math. It's a roll of dice, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. So it's not really worth, in my opinion, thinking about that aspect of the game. Having a gut reaction and losing the game to a crit is always frustrating. And I'm fine with people venting, things along those lines. We're humans. We're emotional. It's going to happen. But, when the conversation starts carrying on, days later about how unlucky you were and how, something happened, and if it happened differently, you would have won, when it's outside of your control, I just don't think that's a good way to approach Pokemon in general. This game's been done for a while. Do do do. There we go. So yeah, I wouldn't spend time and energy obsessing about that. What I think a better thing to do is not only, if you show me a game and I watch the film and I watch your game from a very objective, unbiased position. You show me a hacks, I'll probably show you a spot I think you could have played better. Now, with a game with as many variables as Pokemon, with what I thought was better, is that they're going to be the correct move? No, but maybe a better way to word it would be like, you show me a game, I sit down with 3 or 4 other players I really respect, and we can come to a consensus maybe where you could have played slightly better with the information given. If I took this replay right here and put it in a Discord for the RDL or the UPPL, other leagues I play in, and I went, where could I have played better? I guarantee some of the people would have, could be like, you should have maybe done X, you should have scouted for Y, you should have sacked this off and gone for this way. This is a good game right here. This game versus Lando, I think I lose on the prep level. Lando's superior set is better than, even though I knew superior was an issue, it's just better than mine. And some of my sets that I don't want to talk about at this point are a little too gimmicky and this last resort Lopunny, for example, a little too gimmicky and just do not do what I need them to do. And I think I lose on a prep level. That's what I took away from this game. Not that I got paralyzed and, I mean, that's not a perfect example, but I got paralyzed and things went bad for me. And, if I didn't sack off this, like, there was multiple decision points in this game where I made bad choices, and that led to my loss in this game, in my opinion. Anyways, moving on. Focus maybe on not what's out of your control, but think about what you could have done better, which kind of sums back to what I talk about. There's always moments in games where you can look at, make better decisions, make better plays, make better reads, make better educated guesses, risk more at certain parts in the game, risk less in certain parts of the game. And I think that is kind of my mindset with RNG is I don't even think about it, guys. When I watch replays and prep for people, or when I rewatch this video to prep for Lando, if we play in the playoffs, I'm not going to obsess over, I got to make sure if not getting crit. I'm going to go, what could I have done better? What could I have done, slightly different? Could I have led something different? Could I have prepped differently? Like, that's a positive way. Look at the things you can control. Maybe a better example of this would be a game like the Lincoln Lanterns versus Archeops. I can't remember Shane's team name. That game is super close. That game comes down to a couple unfortunate rolls and missed chances at the end. And again, the hacks affected the outcome of the game, in my opinion. But from Marv's point of view, maybe Marv should sit down at the end of the season and look at that game and go, you know what? If this game came down to, Chansey having to sleep for 3 turns in order for me to win the game, could I have made that turn up somewhere else up in the game? Could I have made a better decision earlier on in the game where the game doesn't just come down to a roll? Like, if we're playing a game with chance and we're playing a game with math, we need to find ways to minimize and maximize our potential for, wins and losses. We need to find, if you tell me the only reason you lost the game because of hacks, I will probably watch that game and say, if the game's that close, did you truly outplay your opponent that much, or were you just evenly matched and we played a game of randomness and you rolled poorly on the dice? So kind of an interesting discussion, kind of interesting to see what you guys think in the Discord. Maybe it's just me, people think I can say stuff like this because I get super lucky or I win a lot, and I think if you're truly the better player, if you truly think you're the better player than your opponent, in the long run, you're going to win more games than you lose. You're going to lose some to hacks. You're going to win some to hacks. But over time, the scale should be tipped in your favor if you're making the better decisions, making the better prep, and eventually you're just going to get more wins that way. So, interesting discussion. I don't know how this is going to feel. Maybe it's excessive coming off of some heat. Kind of picking on Marv a little bit, but that's because I know Marv's a man, and he could take criticism and use it to improve and make himself better. So, yeah, I think the perfect season would be someone I'm close with and comfortable criticizing his Marv season. It's been bad. He's gotten unlucky, but I think he's also gotten lucky at other points in his career, and it maybe doesn't feel like that to him right now, but it always comes back around, and reflecting on a bad season or a bad game can sometimes lead to you improving as a player. It's the classic kind of excessive mindset of season 2 finals versus Lando where I just got straight up outplayed. And instead of feeling bad for myself and being like, oh, if I would have crit Lando, or I can't even remember if that game has any hacks. I don't think it does. If I would have crit Lando on that one move, maybe I would have won. Instead of going, maybe I should change the way I play or change the way I approach the game to get better. So we'll see what people think about this. I'm going to throw together the video relatively quick. I don't have any plans to make any other videos at this time. Maybe I'll post a sporadic video every now and then. So this is Excessive, Team Stealth Rocks, best move in the game. Signing off. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.